Welcome to the Come to the Table Spiritual Mastermind Vodcast. This is our 5th episode, which is awesome and amazing. I hope you get a chance to check out the first 4. You can find them on our YouTube channel and in our respective groups. The information for our groups will be trailing this podcast in the credits at the end, so you can find that out. Or just Google or search any one of us on Facebook. All of our groups are on Facebook right now. Today, oh, wait a second. Before I start this, I want to introduce, I forget to do this. I forget to do one of the most important things is introduce the important people on this podcast. And starting with Romania from Las Vegas, we have our spiritual clarity doula, spiritual influencer, and Natalie from Wyoming. She is a spiritual healer and has an incredibly immense heart. We need some love. And I am Leanne. I am from Edmonton area in Canada. And we are coming together in this spiritual mastermind. Today, we're talking about, following up from our conversation from last week, about nurturing and what happens when we allow a lack of nurturing as a child to carry over into the spiritual dimension of our now, of our current, of who we are today as adults. And to begin this conversation, I like to get down to the root of things. I like for everyone to be on the same page and for us to have a sort of understanding going into a conversation, you know, about what all the words mean. I find that that's important, and there is such a discrepancy around some words, right? And the word that I want to clarify today and bring clarity to from our perspective as we're having this conversation is the word spiritual. So what does it mean for this to be a spiritual mastermind, for this conversation to be spiritual? There's spirituality as religion. I think a lot of people naturally go to religious spirituality, and we're not talking about that at all. That's not to discount religion. It's just not a part of this conversation and this mastermind, and how the terms that we're connecting to our interpretation of spiritual. So my awakening and awareness and connection to myself as a spiritual being starts with my understanding of the universe as an energetic construct. So existing of positively charged energetic particles that hold the knowledge of the entire universe, the collective consciousness. And at the basic unit, each of these particles is the same. The energy throughout the universe is the same. We are all created, the entire universe is all created of the same energy. The physical world that we know and experience through our senses is a perfectly compiled, miraculously engineered organization of these particles into what seems like hard stuff and liquid stuff and clear stuff that floats around in the air, the gassy stuff. And we ourselves are highly organized masses of these positively charged energetic particles also, which means that we are made of the exact same thing, the exact same material, the exact same energy as the rest of the universe. So we are as magnificent as any other part of the universe, any star, any comet, any sun. Essentially, we are the sun, we are the stars, we are all the same. We're not separate from, we're not different than anything else. And so the basis of the spiritual conversation for me, and I'm going to ask Natalie and Romania to define their interpretations also, but for me, the basis of the spiritual conversation comes with the knowing that I am not like a deity or part of the universe. I am the same as. I am the universe. I am the deity. I am valuable, infinitely valuable as being the same energy. I am a wonder. I am love. Truly, I am loving and lovable. I am worthy and deserving. I am the universe. So the spiritual conversation at this mastermind is the pursuit of experiencing myself as infinitely valuable and lovable and loving and immeasurably lucky to have the energetic organization to be this human being. So spiritual energy first, I am first soul, spirit, an energetic being compiled into this miraculous organizational structure. As a human, I'm a human, and I have this incredible privilege of experiencing and enjoying the wonder of the world in this physical earth and the pleasure that is available here for all of us. And in order to do that, I have to remember that I am so wondrous and wonderful, so full of wonder. I have to unlearn those things that have had me believe anything but that. I've spent a lot of time feeling very human and very limited and very little and very unworthy and very silly. And that is not who I am. That's how I have been. And so I have to unlearn that in pursuit of myself as a spiritual being. The spiritual conversation is about remembering your source and that you are source. So source energy, divine energy, creator energy, it's all the same thing. God energy, it's all the same thing. And it's such a big conversation and such a long journey that requires a mastermind like this. It requires other resources, mentors, coaches, time, investment, consideration, reflection, to essentially overcome our humanness and embrace it rather than fight it. And so in this spiritual mastermind, the spiritual conversation for me is very dear. And because I know myself as an energetic being, as part of this incredible, miraculous, wonderful universe, that I can see myself as that, I desire to help other people see themselves as that too, so that they know, so that you know your power and your strength and your worth and your how lovable you really are. So for me, that's how I define spirituality and this spiritual conversation. And I mentioned I want to hear from Natalie and Remy. I'm actually so excited to hear from both of you, because I know that we all think so differently, and so there'll be such value. So Natalie, can I ask you right now, how would you define or explain what a spiritual conversation is for you?
For me, well, I was thinking about spiritual growth specifically, which is part of the conversation. And for me, spiritual growth is connection. When you're seeking out spirit and wanting to grow and expand, you are letting go of other ideas and thought processes. Like when you spoke about religious spirituality being different from this, I had been in a place where I had witnessed religion being a great community here in my own community, and a lot of like-minded people getting together in community, but not being open to other ideas per se. There was just one way to think about things. And as I've been part of more spiritual masterminds, I see that there's always room. There's room for something new. There's room to look at things from a different perspective. You're always growing and expanding. There's not a rigid set of rules that say it has to be like this. And as I've learned more of the science and the quantum physics and metaphysical property, like as new scientific things have come to life, it's expanded my way of understanding what spirit is. And as you learn how connected you are to everything, your connection with yourself grows and grows. And so as you have that connection with yourself, your soul grows and your spirit grows and expands, and your heart is more open and your mind is more open, and you're filled with more compassion because you can see and understand where other people have been, where they're coming from, and how that relates to you, because everything is connected. And so as you become more and more aware of that, it fills you up. Like if you're thinking of like all the magical things, like when I think of stardust and moonlight and sunshine and all of those things, and then I think and feel in my heart that I am also those things, your love for yourself grows and expands, and then you can, your heart opens up and you can love and connect with so many more people. And then when you see people who are hurting or in despair, you can relate to them. And then as a spiritual community, I personally want people to understand that they're stardust and moonlight and all of the things that are beautiful, and they're worthy of being loved. And so that's what spiritual community is to me, and what spiritual growth is just the more connection you have to yourself, the more you're connected to other people, the more you're connected to the world, and you can envelop the whole world in love. I mean, that's the point of being human, right? It's like to go back to being aware of what it is to be a spiritual being. So that's mine.
What I hear in what you're saying is that as spiritual beings and in our pursuit of spirituality, we become the creators of our environment too, right? That spreading the love and showing that being the world that we desire to see. Did I interpret that correctly?
Yes, and you also have the ability, as you become more creative, as you're becoming and seeking and feeling all the feelings, and the more open you are, the more inspiration you get, the more creativity you have. It's just the snowball effect of beautifulness, just filling you up, and then you get to, roll along with other people who are searching for the same thing and feeling the same feelings. Mm-hmm. And all of your lights start to burn brighter because you're all burning together.
I love listening to you talk. You just make me feel so happy when I hear how beautifully you put things. Is there anything else that you wanted to add to that, Natalie?
No, I love you guys. That's all.
I love you too.
I said it again, Ramenya. I said it again.
With the star shining and flowing, she has the star over her shoulder.
That's right. Oh yeah, that's right. Perfect. Okay, Ramenya, I want to know your perception. How do you explain, what does it mean to you being spiritual, having a spiritual conversation?
So there's many definitions for spirituality and having a spiritual conversation. And the way that I understand it is looking at it from the pro and the con, looking at it from, one way of thinking to the other one. So first is about clarifying the difference between religion and spirituality. Like, religion is about believing. Spirituality is about being. So that's a big difference, believing versus being. And what does that mean? Religion emphasizes the content, of your beliefs. Why, why do you believe this way? How is it playing out in your life? Well, if you don't believe this way, then this is going to happen. If you believe that way, then this is going to happen. And so you have all of these little nuances, and you learn how to navigate based on the content. So what content are you putting in? That's the religion part of who you are, right? And so then spirituality is about being in tune with who you are vibrationally. Like, where are you vibrationally? Where are you feeling? Where are your feelings at? Where are your thought processes? What is paining you on the inside, and what can you connect that to? And so once you look at both of those concepts, this is spirituality and this is religion. So now you're coming to the table with a religious conversation, with a spiritual conversation. So when you come to the table with a spiritual conversation, you are taking every concept, every core belief, every thought process, and you're tuning in to those concepts, those beliefs, those values, and you're allowing yourself to be present with those. So now when somebody talks to you and has a conversation with you, and you're triggered, and it's like, no, I don't agree with that. So I'm going to tell you why I don't agree with that, and you have to now conform to my agreement. That is you leaving the state of being. So now you're not having a spiritual conversation. You're taking an ideology, and you're imposing that ideology on someone else. When you're in a spiritual conversation, oh, that triggered me. Where did it trigger me? Okay, my shoulders are getting tight. Okay, all right, I'm starting to get a headache. Okay, my leg is starting to hurt. So now you're isolating because you're tuning into being. So now you're like, it's starting to hurt because of X, Y, and Z. Now you're tapping into the religious part of you, because these are the thoughts that you're doing religiously. These are the actions that you're engaging in religiously. Your core beliefs are thoughts that are on automatic, that you're always thinking about, whether you are conscious that you're thinking about it or not. It's what you do religiously. So the conversation, you need both, because you need the religion of self. You have to understand the religion of self before you can even come into a spiritual conversation with another person. Because before you can come into a conversation with another person spiritually, you have to have a spiritual conversation with yourself. What religion am I adhering to? What is my goal? Yes.
When you're saying your religion of yourself and what religion are you adhering to, are you referring specifically to the beliefs that you've agreed upon? Not like I'm a Christian or I'm a Hindu or I'm
No, that's not for me.
So not a capital R religion, but religion in terms of these are my beliefs.
Religion is tying yourself back to a certain thing.
So, I just wanted to clarify that.
Right. So what are you tying yourself back to? And for me, the religion of self is more important than the religion than the community in which you belong.
Mhm. Got it.
Christianity, Judaism, Islam, those are communities in which you belong, and you agree upon a certain set of rules and regulations, and you agree upon a certain history of how it happened.
Mhm.
Now, when you talk about the religion of self, it's your core beliefs. It is what you agree upon in your body, in the community of yourself. What are you agreeing upon believing in? What are you accepting as historical truth for you? And are you willing to shift that? So you can stay in a box of your own personal religion, or you can expand into the spiritual self. But you have to have that conversation first before you can have a high vibrational spiritual conversation with someone else.
So we have to recognize that we have these beliefs.
Most definitely. Otherwise, if you don't recognize that you have this belief and the belief does or does not work for you, and you accept that as you, then you won't be able to accept anybody else's belief that works for them.
Yeah.
So now you're in a tug of war, and that takes you out of the spiritual conversation. So again, spirituality is about attuning into yourself and tapping into the content of your beliefs, tapping into the fundamentals of your values, mastering what works and what doesn't work for you. And so it is an integration of both. You have to have an integration of both within yourself. That is that deep, intimate relationship with yourself, in order for you to show up with a knowledge of self, so that when somebody says, well, this is what I believe, now you can sit at a table and say, okay, that's what you believe. Great. All right. So how does that affect what we're doing right now? And how does that move us forward or hinder us? So then now we're starting to have a spiritual conversation, because we're all in tune with ourselves and the religion, what we're tying ourselves back to. So are we tying ourselves back to something that happened 10 years ago, or are we tying ourselves to nothing? And are we just being, and are we in tune with that being?
I think that was perfect. I think this whole conversation so far has been like the perfect funnel. So I started like way out here with the possibility of the big picture. Natalie kind of brought it in to show, the possibility of how beautiful a life could be when we pursue our spiritual growth and development and our own spirituality. And Romania, I think that you did such a great job of identifying what it is specifically, our perception of ourselves and what's holding us back, and that is what we're walking through. So what you described in our core beliefs and what we sit down at the table with, our religion of ourselves, those ideologies, and you mentioned imposing them on other people, but actually when we agree to a belief, we're actually imposing that ideology of that belief onto ourselves. And so walking through those beliefs and through those spaces within a spiritual conversation to create that higher vibrational self and enjoyment of our life, of being, that I desire. I think most people watching this podcast would also desire.
I also, when I'm thinking and about Raminia and what she said, and also what you just said about having this religious ideology, but you have the freedom to shift that. And I think when you're part of a spiritual mastermind and you're getting a new perspective that you've never sort of thought imaginable or thought existed or could have comprehended until you had the conversation and you have that aha moment and you go, oh, I never thought of it like that. There's so much grace in that moment when you're just like, your mind just like instantly expands and your heart opens up and you're like, just, oh, you know, that is, I think, one of the most beautiful parts of being part of a spiritual mastermind is that moment when you have that grace and that aha moment and that ability to be open enough and honest with yourself to accept an idea that you necessarily weren't in alignment with before.
And Natalie, being in a spiritual mastermind and having those aha moments, you're able to have the aha moment, and the same way people are looking at you when you didn't have the aha moment, you know, now they're looking at you and they're letting you have it. They're not like, see, I told you,
Right,
you were
I
wrong.
was
It's
right
none
all
of that.
along. Right, yeah, you're
So
not
that, right, that ends up just disappearing from the table, because the religion of the table is expansion. The religion of the table is evolution and being one with the universe, because you are the universe, not in like, but in kind. That is the religion that the spiritual mastermind has agreed upon, evolving belief and being in tune with being at every level of your belief system. We have to start using these words not as something separate, but they all interrelate. They're interrelating. They all agree. And we pick up new words all the time to say this is how we're different. But religion, the ultimate, like, you can look at the universe. The universe is religious. It does things religiously. It's tying itself back to, this is the season for seeding. This is the season for growing. This is the season, right, for harvesting. This is when it's gonna die. You know, so the earth is gonna rotate on its axis. It's gonna turn, and it doesn't stop, right? It's going to bear fruit, and that fruit is going to die. You know, you got the water going up and the water coming down. We call it different things, wanting to say this is separate, and no, I'm right because I'm thinking this way. And it's like, a spiritual conversation is collapsing language and bringing it together, and it's all the same. So I use religion interchangeably with your core beliefs, you know, your subconscious programming. You know, I use artificial intelligence interchangeably with your mind, because it's all programmed, right? And it's how we program. The same way I use interchangeably the religion of your family, not what they do on Sunday, not the Bible class on Wednesday. It is the religion that you agree upon in the house. Mama is it. What she says goes. Father supports that. You know, he's like, yeah, it's like this, and that. She allows him to say that because she's already indoctrinated him with what she wants him to do already. So he's saying it, she's sitting back, and then the moment he says something that's not what they talked about or that's in her mind, it's like, hold up, me and you got to talk. And then the children, they're accepting that religion, whether it's a nurturing religion or a not so nurturing religion. It's what we accept as children, and then we grow up with that belief, that subconscious programming. What we've tied ourselves back to what our parents taught us, what our teachers taught us, what our grandparents, what our community taught us. What's in the home rules supreme. So when we leave the home, it's following us because we are anchored in the supreme doctrine of what we were born into.
Okay. This is great. This is perfect. So I have my pen points right here. This brings us back to the exact question that we're talking about today, back to the original question: what happens when we allow a lack of nurturing as a child to carry over into the spiritual dimension? And when Romania first brought up this question, when we were discussing about, you know, what are we going to talk about in this podcast, I responded, what does happen? Romania, what does happen? Let's talk about that. I want to know what you know.
What does happen?
But I think you were already getting there, right? Like talking about the religion of the home, and it becomes indoctrinated, and then you carry that with you until a point, or maybe you carry it with you forever. But
You do carry it with you forever until you reach that point, whatever that point is. So there's this like fail safe inside of you. If you're not in alignment with whatever your purpose is on the planet, then you're going to have this like inkling or this ache, you know, like it's one of the things that we talk about, like who needs to be at a spiritual mastermind with us, right? And we talk about how you check off all these points. Okay, graduate from college, check. Went to the military, check. Had, you know, got married, check. Had children, check. Traveled some places, check. Got good girlfriends, check. All right, have a man with good sex or have a woman with good sex, check. Did all of that. But I'm missing something.
mm-hmm.
Got a good, wait a minute. Okay, let me check. All right, okay, I'm making good money. The job is not something to write home about, but I'm okay with it. And so now you keep checking and you're checking and checking. So now you're figuring out, what is the bleeping problem? Why is it that I'm still not full? What am I not doing? So you keep checking, and you're checking all the way through your life. But as you're checking, the solution is being created. The solution for you to illuminate why this point in your life wasn't nurtured. Because if you're not in alignment and you're checking off all of these boxes and you still say, I'm not fulfilled, that wasn't being nurtured in a home. And because that wasn't being nurtured in a home and your parent could not assist you with that, all of these other issues arise because of the inconsistent nurturing, because you weren't taught what your purpose was. Your purpose wasn't nurtured when you were at home, and you have all these other indoctrinations that are like suffocating your purpose.
Mm-hmm.
So you go out and you're also creating a solution, because now the solution is, no matter where you go and what you do, you never feel fulfilled. So you're like, I got to do something else. So you're always starting over because the path that you were going on wasn't fulfilling. It wasn't nurturing. You're looking to nurture the process in which you need to reveal your purpose. And so you're like, I need to have this spiritual conversation with myself, but it's not this way. So you leave that and you start over. And then you're like, it's not this way. So you leave and you start over. But now you're getting frustrated because you keep starting over whatever it is you're starting over, because you don't understand it's the spiritual conversation that you're looking for in everything that you're doing. So you keep starting over until you find the conversation that allows you to throw all of the other indoctrinations off of you, all of the other core beliefs off of you, and you're like, that feeds my soul. That is putting me on the path to my purpose. And now your purpose starts to be revealed, and now you're like, you're eating it up. So whatever that path is that just took everything off and allowed you to be vulnerable, vulnerability is just you revealing, allowing yourself to see your purpose without any disguise. That's all vulnerable is. And then you start to build up that vulnerability and you become strong in the knowing of yourself. That is a part of the spiritual conversation. It doesn't have, inside of you, it's not verbal. Inside of you is the moving of energy, toxic energy, is the moving of vibrations. It's the frequencies in which your body, navigates on. That's the inner spiritual conversation. That's coming to the table in your body. And so you're feeding on this and you're becoming addicted to this conversation because you didn't have it as a child. You didn't have it as a teenager. You didn't have it as a young adult. You didn't have it when you first got married. Then all of a sudden you have this, and then you call it an awakening, when what it really is just that you found the path. And it's
So
like, I'm sorry, I had to make that face.
No, that's so great. I just want to back up just a little bit, because something that I think is important to recognize that I can't let go of as you're talking is when I reached my point, what it was like. It wasn't like you say, it's like a moving of energy and you're getting rid of toxic energy, and this is how you know that you're ready to move on. But what does that look like or feel like, or how does that I remember how I experienced that, and it was really clear to me. And what it was like, there was a conversation going on. I don't want to waste my life. I don't know who I am anymore. And this was happening, but the real deep longing, I had a craving, like a desire, and it came in the form of, I want to explore who I am. And it's not, I didn't hear anything. No one told me that. It was just a recurring thought that I had every now and then. And not a thought in my brain, but a thought that just popped up. I want to know who I am. I want to study myself. I want to spend time on myself. And in a culture and an upbringing where, you don't talk about yourself, you don't put yourself first, you don't be selfish like that, you don't celebrate yourself. And I kept getting this message, I want to study myself. That's how I knew. That was my point. That's when I took my first step towards changing the path that I was on and getting in pursuit of something. Later on down the line, what I heard was, and this was also very distinct, I had made a lot of progress. I learned a lot about myself. I went to a lot of personal growth type courses that weren't spiritually based nor religious based. They were just personal development coaches. And there was something, again, a message that kept coming to me, There's something missing. There's another piece, and that's still missing. So it's not personal growth is not enough. It's that connection to spirit. And the minute I turned that on, my purpose, like you say, it was lining up for me. And the minute I went down that path, it was like, I felt like I was home.
Was it like that for you, Natalie?
I know, Natalie. I looked at Natalie too. I was like, put words to that expression. It was so beautiful.
For me, it was the same kind of longing. Like, there was just this longing that I could never put my finger on, because like Raminya said, I had checked off all the boxes, done all the things. I had a good job. I was, making good money. I had a family. I had done all the things. and I still felt like something was missing. I was longing for something, longing for something, longing for something, and I could not put my finger on it. And observed other people longing for something, and they couldn't put their finger on it. And it wasn't until, I did the same things. I was going through personal growth classes, looking at different religions, studying different spiritual texts, doing all of the things. And then, one of those aha moments where all your awareness just sort of lines up and you're like, it was like, do what you love. Do what you love. Like, and at some moment when that's all that was coming to me is do what you love, do what you love, do what you love. I want to create beautiful things every day. I want to be around beautiful things that I've created every day. I want to be in that energy of, and so as discovering, what do I love to do? And as I started doing more things, I felt source communicating directly to me. And that's when I knew that I was connected to spirit, because I'd, looked through different religions, been part of different religions, witnessed people in different religions. And I never understood the connection of being spiritual. Like, I was trying to do all the church going religious things also, and it felt fake to me. There was something that just felt fake. And as whatever, the source was telling me, do what you love, and I finally made that connection, that's when the awareness came to me, and that's when I started to be filled up, and that's when new opportunities came up, new opportunities to do things that I love, that, culminated in me, like, quitting a really great job, just the universe just lined up when I started doing all the things that I loved. And that longing, like the seeking is still there, like still wanting to expand and grow, but I'm in such a more peaceful place now as I'm doing it, and it's joyful, and I'm doing it with people that I really love and who are aligned with how I'm thinking. But that moment of awareness and knowing that source is communicating directly through you through doing what you love, that was the moment that the longing ended, and that I knew I was in a spiritual place. So, and then I was able to participate and find more spiritual minded people whom I could have the conversation with, who are continuing to expand my mind. But that like fierce longing is gone, and I'm in such a more peaceful place, which is a joyful place to be.
That's that coffee love sunshine place. Yeah. So to answer your question about the longing, when you find that peace, is because you're ready to shift. You're ready to feel full. You're ready to be in your body. You may not know all the details or why, but you're like, there's something missing. The missing piece is you being fully present in your body and really focusing on who you are every moment of every day. How can I be present in this moment? Well, maybe a bill has come. How can I be present right now? What's going on around me that I need to pay attention to? And allow yourself to be. That's when you start to feel that fullness. But then you have the flip side, where you have people who are like, I'm not thinking, or my mind is all over the place, or, you know, this is painful. Why do I keep doing this to myself? It is that they're addicted, they're in prison. The longing is not great enough. The longing to change into self is not great enough. You know, and so when when they're indoctrinated in the home front, and so they don't go out and they don't explore and they don't learn, and they don't learn because they don't accept somebody else's view as being honorable for them, right? And they want everybody else to be like what's in their mind of that person. Like, so when you can't accept that this is how a person is in reality, in their reality, because their personal reality is their personality. And when we can't accept them, then it's a mirror showing us that our personal reality is one that we can't accept. But then we don't want to look at our own personal reality, personality. And personality means we got to start looking at our thoughts, feelings, and actions. Then we have to start looking back at what happened to us when we were children. Then we have to go back and say, I can't blame my mother for being molested at my uncle's house because she was smoking and drinking and shooting up. You know, and your life doesn't have to be that bad as a child. It could have just been you had 2 working parents and nobody ever paid attention to you. You know, especially when you were going through your emotional changes. And so that creates a dynamic. But in order to have that spiritual conversation with yourself and to show up at your own table first, you got to go into your own personal reality. And so you're going to get those people who are going to be crying, bawling out of control. I don't know why this always happens to me, you know, because they don't want to have that conversation. Because one, they didn't check off all the boxes. So they have boxes that they need to still check off, which is taking their attention, which causes them to have problems in really tapping into that spiritual conversation of them. But see, we checked off all the boxes that we checked. It's like, what next? I'm still not full. Like, I got everything I asked for, but everything that I asked for, it was like none of it was fulfilling. So there's got to be something else, because I'm getting what I'm asking for, but I don't want what I get because it's not quite it, even though every box was checked.
Mm-hmm.
So at that point, I'm open to the shift. I'm open to the vulnerability. I'm open to this inner conversation because I've checked off everything and I'm at the end of my checkbox. I can't even think of anything else to check.
Mm-hmm.
But most people have a long list of checks that haven't been put in a box. They're waiting to check off the box. And because they're waiting, it's like, I can't have this spiritual conversation with myself. I can't forgive because I need to fulfill this. And I need to do it on my own. But see, that shift, it doesn't stop. You're coming into an awakening and you're coming into this knowing and you're getting pushed to be at the table, and you're actually attempting to slow it down because you got to check off some boxes before you have this spiritual epiphany. So when you actually have this spiritual epiphany, guess what happens? You're balling up in a corner, you're crying, you're like, why have you forsaken me type of attitude. because I wasn't ready to be awakened.
You know what's so interesting about that, and we're talking about nurturing, is that in doing that, you're actually resisting your own nurturing. You're keeping yourself undernourished because you think that it has to be a certain way, which is that religion of self, those beliefs are not working for you. You have to allow yourself to be nourished by that which is inspiring you. And the only way to nourish yourself and to nurture yourself is to follow that inner message, that inner inspiration, that thing that keeps coming up, that's nagging at you, that's making you thirsty for something that's not currently on your list of check boxes. Am I right?
Pretty much, yeah. You're spot on.
Yeah.
And then the one thing that came up was prison. You
Yeah.
can either be in the prison of your mind or you can free yourself. And some people are not ready to be free because they think they're behind bars. But those who are ready to be free and have that type of conversation with themselves so they can show up at the global conversation, right? Those individuals realize I was imprisoning myself, but there are no bars. There is no room. There's just expansion. We create the prison. We create the bars. We create the suffering. We create that. We create that incarceration of the mind. And then somebody shines a light and say, just look. And I know I see bars here. It's just like when somebody thinks they're drowning and it's like, stand up. And then they stand up and it's at their knees. The water is just like that.
You know, funny, I had posted something on Facebook welcoming people to come to my group and explaining what it's about, and for those people who are starting to awaken and enter, like they have that inspiration, they want to continue a spiritual conversation, they're feeling alone and don't know where to go next and don't know how to do it. And so I have this in this post, and I got a response saying this is exactly, almost literally, what I was saying today. I'm at the edge. I'm done. I literally have reached my last straw. And then she did not request to join my group. And I'm like, you're literally having the exact problem. I'm offering an opportunity for you to come to my table. And she didn't accept it. And that's the nourishment. When you know, when this person, she knows she's at that point, she needs something, and what I have is exactly what she needs. You gotta say yes. You have to make that choice. Accept the invitation.
That's it. That's all.
Accept the invitation to come to our table. And it's in community, it's in connection with others who are at the table going to allow you to explore your inspiration, who are going to hear you say what is in your heart and just accept it and create space and allow space for you to explore it in the way that you need to, so that you end up quenching that thirst, so that you end up scratching that itch. Because it is how, at these turning points, at these points where you realize you have a thirst, when you realize you have an itch, when you realize you have an inspiration, when you know there's a missing piece, when you've checked the boxes and you don't know what to do next, when you know that you desire to find that purpose and that deep meaning for your life, and you're thinking, how? Yes, I know this, but how? The how is what we're doing here. The how is embedded in these Vodcast. The how is in the conversation. The how is being connected with other people. The how is in getting coaching and mentorship. And the how, and I invite you now to consider for yourself, are you ready to really deep dive into that inspiration? Are you ready to jump into the purpose of your life? Are you ready to drink the tall glass of water that is meaningful fulfillment for you? That is that creative desire you want to explore, the beauty that you want to create in the world. Are you ready to know what that is for you and satisfy that deep longing in your heart? And if you are, if you know it's there and you just can't wait another minute, honestly, we have created the most inspiring, spiritually infused, powerful retreat for you to go inside yourself, retrieve the manual of your heart, of your purpose, of your soul's longing, and bring that forth so that you can experience and live it out in your day, in your life, in your years, in your moment, so that you can experience your life as fulfilling and purposeful and enjoyable and beautiful and peaceful and calm and harmonious and loving. And I can go on because I'm so excited about it. But so that you're truly inspired by your life and not searching for that missing piece anymore. We have created this retreat that could be just perfect for you. And I encourage you to reach out to any one of us. I encourage you to go to our retreat page, the retreat, I got that wrong already, thetableretreat.com. There will be a link in the comments here, but do check it out because you are absolutely deserving of living that fulfilling life and finding that missing piece. And it is in connection with others that you can quicken that going into yourself and finding that answer, that response, that meaningful piece. Oh. Natalie just posted. Okay, so go to thetableretreat.com and check it out. In the meantime, do either of you have anything else you'd like to contribute or add to this conversation? And if not, I would like to invite Natalie to coffee, love, and sunshine all over us. I've got my mug. I've got right here. Mug. Be awesome today.
You are awesome today.
So are you.
I am going to feel it all.
Beautiful.
And Raminia is on the extraterrestrial highway somewhere in Nevada. So coffee, love, sunshine is my little snippet part of this. Wanting to be available to people I love over a cup of coffee, and just let them know what inspires me about them. And today, I'm just grateful all the time for having, being able to sit with you guys and have a spiritual conversation over a cup of coffee or a cup of tea. And Leanne's ability to just generate so much inspiration with how much she is in the flow with the universe and this retreat and her business, and just watching her grow and be basically on fire all the time, it seems like, with this spiritual energy.
Sometimes it feels like I'm on fire.
I can't even explain how much that inspires me. Like, I am on this ride with her simply because she is so full of energy and so inspired. And so I'm just glad to be part of this whole conversation and this spiritual mastermind. And Raminia's ability to break down concepts and articulate them where I can wrap my brain around it and feel it and be able to absorb the information and break it down for myself and then live it in a way that helps me grow spiritually and more mindfully. It's inspiring. She's been my mentor for a long time, and I love to absorb everything that she has to teach me, and it inspires me to bring that to my clients and to my group and to my tribe and to my family, to then have the words to help them understand my spiritual path and to invite them on a path with the tools that they need to grow and become more spiritual beings. So thank you both for inspiring me every single day.
So lovely. Many kisses.
Right, we're gonna turn into our children. I love you this much. No, I love you this much. And
no, this much, Mama. It's this much.
My kids love me infinity plus infinity.
Or unless you have T-Rex arms, and then it's only this much.
T-Rex arms, like that's Lakin for sure.
For sure. Yes.
Romania lady, you brought it today. What Natalie said about you clarifying and it's like polishing. You bring beauty to the ideas and clarity so that when I'm listening to you, I'm like, yes, that feels right in my heart. That feels like what I was thinking. And now I know it because you said it in a very clear and concise way. And that is one of your true gifts, is you're like an orator. You have this ability to touch people's hearts with the words that you say. And I know that because you have done that for me so many times. And in doing that, you help me grow and expand because I understand my own thoughts and my own self better from hearing you speak. And I love listening to you. So thank you for always bringing that to the table.
Thank you. For you all to be here is like the ultimate reflection, to see the different versions of what we are and what we become when we allow ourselves to just embrace the universe of us. And it's like we're all here nurturing and developing each other, and just to be able to have something that's so profound, and then to be able to do it with Leanne and Natalie. Oh my gosh, you all are just like amazing in that we sync up so seamlessly, you know, and who would have thunk it, you know, nobody, you know, but to stay present to the point, it's like, here are the challenges. Let's stay present, and how do I go into myself so that I can stay present even with the challenges? And you all assist so gracefully and so beautifully with that. And then you help me to find beauty in things that I was just like, I don't want to find beauty in that. Like the snow. That's some for real. I don't want no beauty in the snow. But then when I see you all just embracing just life and nature, it's just like, you know what? If I don't embrace even the snow, I'm not embracing life itself. Everything has a season, and you remind me that seasons change. Seasons are there, and we expect seasons. Seasons will leave and seasons will come. And we honor both in just a state of beautiful grace and harmony. So that is how I'm feeling about y'all right now, because you all have some beautiful snow pictures, and I'm just like, what?
Yeah, we do. And Natalie, so Natalie is, okay, so you're like the river bank. You're like the river bed. You are that system that holds the flow of the river. And so and so some of you will be following Natalie, and you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. The rest of you have not seen Natalie's mini clips of like what do you call them? Mini minutes of the
minute mindset meditation.
Yeah, because that's not too many M's. Minute mindset meditation. They're lovely, and I encourage you to find her on Facebook, because you'll see this incredible river, and I believe it's just down the road from your house, right?
Yes.
And so I've seen this river in many minutes mindful meditations in different seasons, and it's lovely. And so you get to see this river, and it's not a slow river, but it's not a fast river. It just flows, and it flows so perfectly, and the seasons flow into it, whether it's ice or whether it's, you know, you can see the leaves changing along the side of the river, and at one point it forks, and the river doesn't stop and go, oh my gosh, which way am I going to go? It just continues to go whichever way it flows into. And Natalie is like that. She is like the riverbed that holds the flowing. You hold that a space and that appreciation for wherever the flow is going to go. You're going to support and uplift and bring the beauty and the wonder and the amazement at all of those small details, so that they don't get forgotten, so that they get loved too, so that the sound of the ice cracking gets loved too. And is that a metaphor? It might be, probably.
The sound of the ice cracking. I'm like, yo,
See, there's another layer of appreciation of the snow for you, because the sound of the ice cracking is quite incredible. But Natalie, you are that for me. You are that riverbed that allows me to flow whichever way I happen to go at that fork in the river. And I thank you for that. That is a very beautiful thing.
I don't know what to say. That I could have never even wished to think of myself that way. Like, but that is exactly how I feel. Like, I don't know that I could have ever articulated that for myself, because that's one of my favorite places to be, and that's how I feel every day that I stand on the side of the river. So thank you for that.
Well, and you can, well, you're beautiful. And now this is going live on the internet. You can watch it wherever you want.
Oh my goodness. Let's have another minute mindset meditation, shall we?
Only if it's a minute mindset meditation
On
for
Monday.
Munchkins on Monday. Oh my gosh. So fun. Well, thank you.
Oh, I love all of you.
Oh, thank you both so much. This was fun and inspiring again. I feel like it hasn't been an hour, but I think it might have been.
I think it has been also, but it flew by. It flies by. It's so fun and it flies by.
This is because this is what our soul desires, right?
Right.
Are you all ready?
I'm already dancing. Look at me. I don't even need music.
You don't need music to say. All right, we got
music in my
something for you though.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. Goodbye.
See you next week.
See you. Love you.
Musique du cœur, c'est battement. Musique, musique, joue.